Welcome to the Indie Music Room, a conversation with independent artists about writing, recording, performing, and promoting their original music. And now here's your host, Heather Kelly.
Hey everybody, I'm Heather Kelly with the Indie Music Room. Happy August. I don't know how this happened. We're already to the month of August, end of summer. That's how I feel about this. I'm super excited. And first and foremost, before I get to this guest I want to introduce you to, I want to thank all of you for being so patient and understanding regarding my not being able to get back to you immediately. As you, most of you know, I'm a caretaker for my family members, and it's been a lot lately. So with that said, thank you for your patience and understanding. Thanks for checking in on me and all of our past and future guests. So here we go with that said. I'm super excited. This guy comes all the way from Seattle, Washington, born and raised in like Mercer Island, I believe. And his name is Henry Mansfield. You're going to love this guy. Here we go. Welcome, Henry. How are you?
I'm doing well, Heather. I'm happy to be here. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so excited. You know, I've listened to your music. I mean, I only do one a month. I wish I could do more. I don't have the time right now, as I just mentioned, to do that. Maybe I'll be able to do that at some point. But I've listened to your music. We waited months to do this, and I'm super stoked about it. Why don't you give everybody an introduction of who you are and what you do and where you come from?
Yeah, gosh, I'm Henry. I grew up in Seattle, in a suburb of Seattle. And yeah, really felt like grew up in what I consider the vibe of the scene here, which is like very unique artistry, very DIY oriented. I remember like growing up posting house shows, and I think being in a scene that I maybe didn't have context for at the time, but after I moved to Boston, and then after that moved to LA, which were both dramatically different from where I grew up, and then found my way back here after all that, because I just couldn't find a scene that felt more like home, or a place that felt more like home. So I love Seattle. Very happy to be here.
I'm going to stop you there. What'd you do when you were in Boston?
That's a good question. I went to school. I went to music school at Berklee College of Music, and I studied. I think my ultimate degree was professional music, but I studied performance and technology, which was wonderful, and met some incredible musicians and had a great time.
I love that. So tell me, going way back as a kid, I mean, my dad was always a musician, so I didn't know I was going to end up being one, but I guess being around the music kind of influenced myself. Tell me about your upbringing. What was that like for you?
Yeah, no, I would say I'm lucky to have a lot of creative people in my family. I think both my mom and my dad were hobby musicians. There was a piano in the house. They both created. My dad specifically is more of a writer than anything else, but generally every year at Christmas on either side of the family we'd get together and we'd have this thing called like the Christmas program where everybody would somebody would sing something, somebody would play something, sometimes it was my grandfather would get up and read Casey at the Bat every year like a tradition, but it's just something, and being raised in an environment where performing was encouraged and creativity was encouraged, and
Right.
just definitely was surrounded by music from a young age and then got into it pretty early.
So I know you went to Berklee, but what were the first instruments you picked up? I mean, or when did you realize like this is what I want to do? Did you kind of have like the ability to be self-taught prior to Berklee, or?
Yeah. So I was a singer before anything else. I just I was like 10, 11, wandering around singing, and my dad would be like, "Oh, come sit with me and like sing this with me." And but after that, no, my first experience with an instrument was my folks had this old upright piano in the house, and all these big chord charts of Beatles songs and Elton John songs and things like that. And we had this little like rinky dink laminated chord sheet, and I was like, "Wow, this how hard can this be?" And like sat down and started kind of oh, that's C, and I kind of look, and then okay, and that's F, and just sort of went from
you would
there.
like put 1, 3, 5 on
exactly.
masking tape on the keys. Yes, I totally get it.
Exactly. And just sort of went from there, and I think there was nothing else that felt as good to me. I think I just like it was. I think my parents they told me later in life, they're like, yeah, like we couldn't get you to stop. Like you just came home and did it every day, and it was like the thing you wanted to do, and that was what I did for a long time. And after that, like picked up a little bit of guitar, a little bit of drums. I'm okay at those things, but no, really still just consider myself a piano player and a vocalist primarily.
You know, I can agree. Like, and I'm okay. Violin, I was taught, but when I did my band, I was like learning how to play on piano, which is how I express the songs I wrote and stuff. And I say that I know a little bit about so many things, but not enough to be like a master craft at anything. But it gets me in trouble because I know just a little bit about enough to get me in trouble. You know, that feeling like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I can't play drums, but I hear this sound. This is what I hear. I can't play it, but you should. You know, those
Right.
kind of things.
Exactly. And it turns into more, you're like, you're doing more of a, and can you do more of a cash, cash, cash? You know what I mean? And starting to make up nonsense words. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Tell me about your writing process. So, saying that you're a piano player, do you have a tendency to write like a ditty or a melody on the piano and then come up with the words, or do you do the words in your mind and you know where it's going to go, or how do you do that?
It's different every single time.
Yeah.
It is, I will, I don't know how it is for you, but for me, sometimes I will just have notes, and my notes app is my best friend. I will have like lyrics with no melody, just have things to say. I think if you know, put a gun to my head, ask what's your favorite part of all of this, I really do enjoy the lyric writing and the writing of it generally. I just, that part of it really excites me in a way
That's the worst part for me.
Hey, we should collaborate. We should get something going here. We should but so sometimes it's lyrics, I'll put a melody to those. Sometimes I will have a melody and then write lyrics after the fact. Sometimes that's a piano melody. Sometimes it's it just whatever suits the song. And you know, I'm sure you've had this. Sometimes they fall out in 30 minutes, and sometimes 6 years later you're like, oh, it's done. You know, and it's just things take the exact amount of time they need to finish, and it's different for everything. So
You're right. You can't, you can never rush a project. It comes to fruition when it's meant to be. I took 6 weeks to sing one vocal one time. Six
yeah.
weeks. And the day I got it, I was like, let's move on. I'm done. Like, but it takes that long. So I totally get it. Tell me a little bit about the first song we're going to show everybody tonight. It's called Gumball. Tell me a little bit about the behind the scenes, what your thoughts were when you created this and how it came together.
Yeah, gosh, there's so many stories I want to tell about this one because it came from so many different places. I think the earliest form of it was during living in LA during COVID. I was lying awake one night and it's kind of was like I should write an album about all my friends. I should just write an album for I should pick some friends and just write a song about them, because how lovely would it be to have a whole album, because these are people I care about. And so this song was started. I was writing something about my friend Alex, and just kind of a song about his perspective and his relationship with his girlfriend at the time. And it just kind of the initial, it was a piano and melody and lyric, and it sat there for a while, and I just didn't touch it for like a year or two. And then a little while later, or I guess a year or two later, I was living in LA. After the pandemic had mostly, things were back, shows were happening again. I was renting with some people, and I was looking at a place, and I was listening to this Amanda Palmer song called "Ollie Ollie Oxen Free," and this is part of the song where she very, very rapid fire delivers some words. And there's this phrase right at the end of it. I just that the way that weird things just get lodged in your head sometimes. Yes. The phrase was waiting in the shop window where you got auctioned hours ago, and she delivers it really fast. And I just was saying that to myself the whole way home. And then I got home, I opened my laptop, and I had a microphone. I put some weird kind of like a flanger and distortion over it, and just with the microphone and a bass in my lap, just kind of jammed with myself on that phrase over and over and over again. And then just took a hatchet to it, hacked it all up, and took the portions I liked. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is kind of a cool bass track for a song. So that opening kind of warbly sound you hear, that a lot of people ask, oh, is that a synthesizer? That's my voice is really, really heavily processed, saying, so cool. Waiting in the shop window where you got auctioned hours ago. And then I made some light revisions to the lyrics. At that point I was building an album. And I'll talk more about this later probably, but building an album around the idea of mythology and storytelling. And I wanted to explore a lot of kind of tropes of storytelling. And in this case, it's kind of the coming of age, meet cute at a party where you meet that person and everything's just cinematic and beautiful. Everything's perfectly compatible. And it's that kind of thing. And the title was actually the last thing to come. I I had that chorus that came out, which ends with "Anything can happen next to you," and I can get very associative when I title my songs. And the first thing that sprang to mind was the idea of a big gumball machine that you crank and a different color comes out every time. And I just like this idea of like it could be anything, and we're gonna sit here and get all the colors, and that's what the function of this will be. So
such is life. Here we go. With that said, let's listen to Henry Mansfield with his first song tonight. We're going to share Gumball.
This is how it begins. I'm a ghost in a sheet. I come down the street to a new melody, to the party where we would meet. You were wearing a smile in the midst of a song, a drink a bit strong and a teenager's wit. At a mile a minute, you had me hooked. As the window shoppers left, we lingered, made a camera with our fingers making up the script as we went along. So we could have a simple life, we could have a car chase, we could have an old West afternoon or sci-fi dinner. Do you wanna do? We could be Raygun red or cowboy blue, yeah. Anything could happen next to you. It's the end of the show. You're trying to dance in a Tanqueray trance, but it's clear that you can't lead the crowd in the last call chant. I don't wanna go home, that road has an end. I'd rather pretend that we're infinite here. But just in case, could I crash at your place so we could have a simple life? We could have a car chase, we could have an old West afternoon or a sci-fi dinner. I don't wanna mess this up. Do you wanna do? We could be Raygun red, cowboy blue, yeah. Anything could happen next to you. We could be Raygun red, cowboy blue, yeah. Anything could happen next to you.
That was Gumball. You know what? I love that song. Actually, I love all your music. I got to tell you, you listen to it, you've got this really good feel, but you always I get the energy coming when the choruses are coming. I get excited about that because I go, oh, something's good's coming. So I love it. Yeah. Tell me about your recording process, Henry. What do you do?
Yeah, this has been a long one. This has been, I'm very lucky to have a friend up here in Seattle named Jesse Field who works at a local studio. And so a lot of these songs were recorded in, hey man, a session just ended. It's 10 o'clock. Can you make it to the studio, right now? And I'm like, okay, get in my car and scream over there.
Yes.
Actually, the majority of the vocals for this album were recorded in a bedroom in LA. I had these bunk beds. And we didn't have any kind of isolation booth at all. And Jesse had flown down to LA to record vocals with me. And he said, well, we got 2 mattresses. So we pulled the mattresses off, pasted them up, and put some blankets over it. And we have a whole bunch of videos of just everybody who sings on the record singing into this, between these 2 pink mattresses, on either side of a, it was great. It was a fun time.
I absolutely love that.
And yeah, no, so it was drums in a studio, piano in a studio, but lots of other things kind of cobbled together, recorded in bedrooms, recorded in, wherever we could make it work, essentially. So it's been a labor of love for the last 2 years.
So when you come up with an idea, you mentioned the computer and stuff. Do you have like a little mini studio where you get an idea, you kind of lay down a basic before you take it to studio to record? Is that what you do?
It's a good question. I do a lot of I extensively demo. I get really like specific and into the weeds and sequencing things and writing horn charts, and I kind of make sure I have as complete of a picture as I can have before going into the studio. Most preferably, I love to play things live before going into the studio with them. I feel like it's really hard for me when a song has been in the computer and entirely hypothetical at that point. Music for me is so much about how can you make people feel when you're in a room with them. And I feel like it's always hard for me to know what kind of the part of the song is that's most compelling until I've kind of brought it to people in a room. So it's been.
I wish I would have met you 15 years ago, because I would always record first and then we go to play it live and it'd be like way faster than the recording because we obviously recorded it too slow, or you didn't know how the parts were going to fit. Like everything you can do in I don't know if you can see, I'm actually in an analog studio that still uses 2-inch tape, old school here. So it's very fun. Well, it used to be. Now that everybody pushes the button, I'm like, what the hell have I been doing 17 years? But the point being is, I don't think you really know until you play it live. And guess what? It takes a whole new life of its own on when you play it live, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So I love that. I wish you would have talked to me years ago. Anyway, so tell me about the next song we're going to share with everybody. Let's Make a Movie. And you've got a video to this one as well, if I'm correct.
Yeah, this one's got it's got a lyric video up on YouTube.
Make sure to send that to me so I can include it in our podcast.
I sure will.
Perfect.
Let's Make a Movie was one of the first. It's the song that kind of guided the project. It wasn't the first song written. I pulled from some older songs for the new album, but it was the song that kind of crystallized the vision for sure. This song started. I was working for a music journalist website here in Seattle for a while. And they sent me to Tree Fort in Boise, if you've heard of it. It's a little local festival. I loved it. It was a blast. And I was walking home at 2 a.m. back to my motel one night. And I just spent the whole day listening to festival music. And I had this kind of beat in my head. I was humming. And there's a voice memo somewhere deep in my phone. I think I shared it on Instagram when I first released it, of just me going, and I moved to LA a week or two after that, and then it was the first song I finished after moving back to LA, and I just wanted to go for the full-on poppy chorus, fun to listen to. It's very similar to Gumball in the way of just being about that very hormonal, thrilling, cinematic love where you just can't get enough of a person. A lot of people have asked me fairly if this song's about starting an OnlyFans with your friend, and I haven't denied it. It wasn't my intention, but I think I think for me, it's just about whether it is about that, whether it's about making any kind of movie, whether it's about just creating something together. It's about this very, very pure intimacy of just creating something with somebody else.
And I love when you use the word cinematic, because when I hear your music, when you say cinematic, my mind creates my version of the journey, the beauty of it cinematically in my mind. So that's why I love it when I hear you say that, because you're right. Your music has the ability for people to hear it, and then they can put themselves in their perspective of what, their thoughts are. I love it.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, I think the best music I enjoy the most is very vivid in its storytelling and feeling like you're there, or I don't know. Anything that does a great job of telling a story or putting you in a certain situation or just describing an emotion in such a specific way, I feel like it's some of my favorite things. So I'm very happy to hear that my music can do that for you.
Absolutely. Now I want to tell everybody before we go ahead and play Let's Make a Movie, I want to tell everybody this is not your first project. In fact, this is your 5th project. We go all the way back. I mean, you've had several. So everybody will watch this, this podcast and stuff, and they'll be focused on the new release, I believe, which comes out August 18th. Everybody make sure to put that on your calendar. But I want you to also to check out, his other projects that are just equally as grand. So with that said, everybody, let's listen to Let's Make a Move, Henry Mansfield.
This bed could've come to yours instead. Could've come to yours instead. A mattress leaking air, a room for really cheap, and a story to complete. Will you paint me with the circle or the monument? I'm wrapped around you thinking you could be it. You could be it. If you can promise you'll hold the camera steady, I'll give you drama, I'll give you comedy. We're out of money, yeah, what's left is you and me. And if that sounds good to you, then let's make a movie. If you can promise you'll hold the camera steady, I'll give you drama, I'll give you comedy. We're out of money, yeah, all that's left is you and me. And if that sounds good to we're out of money, yeah, all that's left is you and me. And if that sounds good to you, then let's make a movie.
All right, everybody, that was Let's Make a Movie. I'm sure you can all relate to that in some way, shape, or form. When he spoke about this cinematically, I can picture in my head exactly what he's talking about with those words when I listen. Now, I want to talk to you about this. Tell me about your, do you play with a band? Do you go out and play live? And I think I heard something about a West Coast tour. What's going on with that?
Yeah, no. So playing live is one of my favorite things. It is. If you ask me what the favorite part of all of this was, aside from the lyric writing, it is being in front of people and playing shows. So I've been lucky to play with this group of guys for the last couple of years now. Matt, Dylan, and Chris, they're all friends of mine I met in Boston. And we don't all live in the same place, but at least once a year we get together and go on some sort of tour.
Awesome.
This year, yeah, we're very excited to be promoting a record and touring behind a record. It's been a really long time since I've done that, and we are hitting Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and LA. All just hitting the big cities on the way down. And we did something similar last year, and it was just a highlight of our summer. So thrilled to be back in all these cities playing new songs that are finally out.
Well, if you want to like make a, out of the way road trip, come to Otho, Iowa, Junior's Motel Recording Studio, and we will host you here as our friends, our guests. Maybe we could even cut a tune together or something. But you come to Iowa, I got you covered.
It's like a 20-hour detour. It's not a big deal.
Right? Yeah. I know. I used to live in Sunnyvale, San Jose, California area just for a short time. So I do know the drive time. That would be really rough. But anyways, always an open offer for you.
I'll keep it in mind. Yeah.
All right. Why don't you tell me again? You got that coming up. Tell me about your last song. I think it's called String Theory.
String Theory. Yeah. String Theory.
This one's so fun too. Like I love them all, but this one's so great.
Thank you. Yeah. No, this one is a favorite of ours. And I think I don't want to speak for anybody, but the crowd seems to really enjoy it when we play it too. It's, it was designed. I think I mentioned on this album, I'm trying to play a lot with tropes specifically while kind of examining, not in an overly fixated way, but just kind of generally examining the tropes and the tropes we choose to make meaning out of as far as how we think about our lives and stories. And I think there's that trope of a party song that very much, people are familiar with. And I think I wanted to examine that while simultaneously talking about when I lived in LA, my friends and I, my roommates and I, started running a house show venue out of our garage. And we had these high-minded aspirations. Oh, we're going to create these really thoughtful parties where people come connect, and we're gonna engineer them in such a way. We're gonna have activities for everybody, and most of the time people just came and got really drunk and threw up in our backyard, and stuff, and which is fine. And I think I was thinking about that, realizing that that has value too. I think in a world where, at least speaking for my generation, you feel like the world's ending all the time. Right. That maybe the best way you can be together is just be a little silly, be a little messed up, and just go to someone's house, drink, throw up in the backyard, and go home. And
those are some of the best times ever.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So how I think it was a number of things. I wanted to talk about parties, why we party, talk about the world feeling like it was ending, but also how can we be together in a way that is meaningful when it feels like things are constantly ending. And so I try to wrap it all up into this little song. I'm a big fan of it. I love playing it. It's one of our favorite things. We close a lot of shows with these days. So
it's really great. It's really great. Here we go. I want to show everybody this song, the third. All of them are great. I can't even say we saved the best for last because they're all that great. But here we go with String Theory. Again, Henry Mansfield.
Trying to impress me with their Tanqueray philosophy. They told me we're connected, then they threw up off the porch. And someone's flush and tumble roommate doing kind interrogations. Are you happy? Are you doing all right? The front man, silver tongue, disagreeing with the limerick he's just done. It doesn't rhyme, it doesn't mean a thing, but it feels so nice to sing. Hang up the string lights, they're tangled and broken, 'cause we're all defective and glitchy and desperately bright. No way to ward off the end of the empire. No way to get back what we lost, even if we could. But if parties could still save us, this one would. Come the morning, the tequila came collecting on repayment. I woke to poison skull emojis from my fortress on the floor. So I walked to Ralph's for crackers, and all the way I thought about the coral reefs, the president, the friends I hadn't called. And when I got back, you gave your hangover report. but I'm gonna own my mistakes. Last night your bathroom wasn't making much sense to me. I might owe you an apology. Sorry. Hang up the string lights, tied to each other. They're all anxious but acting the opposite just for the night. No way to ward off the end of the empire. And all of our favorite songs, I'm not even sure they're good. But if music could still save us, here it would. We all want an easy slogan, something good for a tattoo. There's no single sentence version of the truth. Though we keep searching at the bottom of our drinks, we grip our cups like handlebars in basement shows to sink. Hang up the string lights, tangled and broken, 'cause we're all defective and glitchy and desperately bright. No way to ward off the end of the empire. No way to get back what we lost, even if we could. And if no one comes to save us, this is our capsized parade. Big party on the mess we made. Though nothing's alright, we got lights and a good looking stage. This is our capsized parade. Big party on the mess we made. Though nothing's alright, we got lights and a good looking stage.
That was Henry again with another amazing song. I love your lyrics. I love your verses. I love your transitions into the bridge to the chorus or whatever it may be, but it's very energetic. You're going to be chart topping before we know it. So I'm so excited that you're here. I want you to share with everybody how to find you. And first and foremost, how did you find me?
Yeah,
From
well, I'm
Iowa.
very,
Podcast from
very-
Iowa.
very, very lucky to be working with Anna at Megas Wave. She's based in California right now, and she's been doing a lot of outreach, and she found you for me. But I would recommend any small artist looking for kind of beginner PR, things like that, definitely reach out to Anna at Megas Wave. She's wonderful.
She is amazing to work with. We've had fun with that. So amazing. So we connected, and I'm so glad we did. It's funny. It's like you're a small fish in a big sea. But when I come across people like you, my mind's blown. I'm like, people need to hear Henry Mansfield. I mean, I feel that every time. Having said that, tell everybody your social media links, how to find you. I don't know if you have merch or whatever, but tell everybody how to find you.
Yeah, best place to find me is on Instagram. It's the place I'm most active. I am at Henry Plays Piano. Beyond that, I have a mailing list. If you want more specific updates, I send those out about once every 3 weeks to a month. I also have a Patreon. If you want to kick me a little extra every month, you can find that on the Instagram or the mailing list. But yeah, mostly I think the best way to get the Henry Mansfield experience is to come see a show. So if you're ever in Seattle, please come stop by. Or this August, if you are somewhere on the West Coast, please come consider seeing us play in Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, LA, or San Francisco. So
another thing is I tend to my podcast is hosted by ForDodgeRadio.com, Bill Grady, and you can go to there, but a lot of people just go to YouTube to find it as well. And I did some research on you on YouTube, and there's some fun like live performances that people can check out too. The one thing, the music is great, but your energy, your personality really shines through too as a performer. So it has been fun to watch too. I subscribed. I watch everything. I found you
Well,
on
thank you.
Insta today. So
Wow, you're a fan. We converted you, Heather. Okay.
exactly, you converted me. So with that said, one more time, do you have an official website?
Oh yes, I also have a website, www.henrymansfield.com. Just the way it's spelled, like you think it would be spelled. And there's updates there. There's merch available on there. All sorts of fun Henry lore in there. So.
I'm a size small.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna write that down for unrelated.
I just Anyways, everybody, I will see you in September. Thank you for joining in with me. It's been almost 5 years now. You've all been amazing support. We get to listen to these cool new people every month. And Henry, you're one of my best. So here's the thing. I hope you in the future that you will send me any new music you have coming your way and share with that. And maybe we'll connect in another 6 months and see what's going on then.
Let's plan on it. I'll see you in 6 months.
Thanks again. Everybody, tune in September. Heather Kelly, Indie Music Room. Have a great night.
You've been listening to the Indie Music Room with Heather Kelly. Be sure to listen every Saturday and Sunday right here on FortDodgeRadio.com and subscribe for all our past and upcoming shows. The Indie Music Room is a production of FortDodgeRadio.com.